This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esther, and with me as always is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
And tonight we have a special guest, some random guy. Say hello, some random guy. Can you unmute some random guy?
Yeah, I'm sorry, technical difficulties.
Some random guy. Would you like to announce how you'd like to be known as we talk to you, or do you just want to remain some random guy the entire time?
SMG. Some random guy.
SMG. Okay. Perfect for the Southgate Media Network.
Right. Wouldn't it be SRG?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how to spell.
Okay. We will keep the identity of some random guy secret.
Right. It's just an effort to throw you off.
Yes, I will simply say that he is a good friend of mine. Okay, let's get to tonight's episode. Hey, first off, to all of our viewers out there, yes, viewers, because this is the first video-enabled Full Stream Ahead. We are discussing Season 2, Episode 1 of The Mandalorian.
Ooh.
It doesn't have a title. Oh, there it is. Chapter 9, The Marshal. The Mandalorian is drawn to the Outer Rim in search of others of his kind. Our director, of course, is Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau wrote this and get the created by credit, along with George Lucas, who gets our based on characters by. Based on Star Wars by. Because these are not characters of his. This is just Star Wars in general that George Lucas created, who is the real hardest working man in show business, I guess, or actually maybe the least hardworking man in show business.
He doesn't really make that much Star Wars anymore.
No, he mostly lets other people do the heavy lifting, but that's okay.
That's why you work so hard when you're younger, right?
Exactly. You work hard as a young man. You make THX 1188, get Star Wars, and then just start stacking those knots. And speaking of stacking knots, I like how this episode starts, because we start off in a strange little, basically a gambling planet. Well, we don't know if it's a gambling, but basically it's definitely the bad side of the town in the country on the planet that he's at. Because he's come there for information and the possibility that someone can lead him to another Mandalorian. The guy who's there says, yes, but we want to seal the child. And, and to make this person extra evil, he shoots one of the wrestlers that they're watching. They're at what seems to be a friendly axe battle, a friendly axe fight, as you have, Yes, money's being laid down, but I don't even know if this was even supposed to be a battle to the death.
Me and the boys just having axe battle.
Yes. But,
what do you think was his motive in doing that? Was he trying to make a point to Mando about how rough and tumble he was and how little he cared that he was willing to shoot one of his prize fighters, don't mess with me kind of thing? Or was he just upset that maybe he lost the bet or he was about to and couldn't afford to, so he's like, hey, house never loses? Or what do you think his intention was in doing it?
I think his intention in shooting the guy was literally to say, you're on my turf. I can shoot a guy in the middle of Fifth Avenue. I'm not going to lose any votes.
Gotcha.
That's what he was trying to say there.
Matthew, I think the noise was just annoying him while he was trying to speak, so he just shot him so he can continue speaking.
But which again goes to that high level of power, that he feels he is untouchable in this moment. Unfortunately, he's going up against the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, our little Yiddle. Who immediately, and this is like my favorite scene. This is my favorite scene in the whole series. Is like as soon as Baby Yoda realizes something's about to go down, you just see him close the lid. Yeah, I know where this goes. Okay.
Yeah, I've been here before.
Yeah, wake me when it's over, Mando. And it is again just this thing. It's like and this is the thing about the Beskar armor, is it is literally laser proof. So you're not accomplishing anything shooting the guy. I will give that one of them did have it like momentarily pointed at his neck, but he knows enough to keep his neck protected.
Right.
So that as soon as he does that, he immediately moves because he knows that's the threat. And it takes out that guy and, then just beats everybody up,
I thought the guy who was pointing the gun at his neck was the guy who shot the wrestler.
No, that was a different guy. That was one of the henchmen. The guy who shot the wrestler was the Cyclops that he was talking to.
I know that.
What was their game plan? How did they expect to beat a dude wearing Beskar armor? Not only wearing Beskar armor, but was bred to be wearing that armor.
Well,
No,
well,
go ahead.
How did they think they were going to win? Because it looks like they had no idea beyond shooting him with an ineffective weapon.
Well, since Beskar was very rare, some Mandalorians did not really have that material to use as armor, so maybe they thought he was just wearing some other type of armor, maybe?
But then why would they try to steal something that wasn't Beskar? They had to know it was Beskar.
Yeah, I'm guessing that. Yeah, my guess would be that I guess the basic idea is and it's sort of like the whole stormtrooper thing. People will make jokes about how ineffective stormtroopers are until you actually get good stormtroopers together. And this is actually something I was talking to Tristan about, that one of the biggest problems that the Empire has is that because the Empire has to be spread over so much area, they can't send their best people to every mission. So that basically you see a lot of, and especially when you think about like the Death Star, the guys assigned to the Death Star are not going to be the top tier people because you're this far behind enemy lines. These are basically like Finn. He's basically a sewage worker. These were the guys that basically came and did work every day, punched in, punched out, cushy union job. They were not frontline soldiers, And even when they are frontline soldiers, you have to spread out. And if you have like one elite guy, he's going to rise in the ranks, and then you're going to put him with his own division. But he's always going to have just this group of cannon fodder who's just there for the paycheck.
May I say something?
Yes.
Stormtroopers are, even though some of them might not be better than others, most stormtroopers I have heard went through intense amount of training just to become one, but I guess that doesn't mean that all of them are really that good at what they do.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, because if you have to manufacture that many stormtroopers, you have to get that many stormtroopers into the position, you're going to essentially exhaust. There's going to be some who, there's going to be some C students, basically, in this.
And I'm sure the recruitment centers are incentivized with such a structure that they're just putting anybody through.
Exactly.
Oh, that guy passed the training. Trust me, he's going to be fine. Not pay me.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think what we're getting here is people that are just underestimating him. Because they, if nothing else, they're thinking, okay, maybe we can't get the armor off of him, or maybe we can, because he's going to have to block all of our shots. Maybe if we can have him block all of our shots, there's one shot's going to get through. But of course, immediately he knows that, and it's sort of like Andre the Giant says in The Princess Bride. It's very different when you're fighting 6 guys or 1 guy. And when you fight 6 guys, there's different ways there's different moves that you're going to use, and I know those moves too. says, I don't usually get to fight just one-on-one. But, of course, Mando, he fights one-on-one, and he fights 6 guys at once all the time. So he's very good, no matter what the situation is. But anyway, in this moment, he does defeat the rabble that were trying to, because actually they wanted the child, I believe, if I recall correctly, because they knew that there's a bounty on the child, and I don't even think it was even the Beskar armor that they wanted. They just wanted the child because that's the bounty.
Well, maybe they thought, hey, there's not only a bounty, but there's also this super rare material. It's a win-win. If we kill this guy, we get 2 things.
Well, exactly. That is true too.
Like every quest in Dungeons and Dragons, you're like, hey, bring me back this thing. Whatever else you find, that's yours to keep.
Exactly. And so anyway, and I love, because he does defeat the guy, strings him up by the lamp post, because of course the guy runs, because he is not the fighter. He can kill people when everyone else behind him, but he's the brains of the outfit. He's not really the guy who has gotten this ain't the Kingpin. He hasn't gotten his hands bloody working his way up the kill ladder. So when he gets hung from the lamp post by his feet, because, as the Mandalorian says, I promise you, you will not die by my hands.
It's a very Batman moment.
Yes. Yeah. Although, yeah, and the difference is that the Mandalorian kills, and the Mandalorian has no problem with you dying. Batman would probably feel bad if you actually did die from something he did. No,
he would feel really clever and really proud of himself. See, I didn't do it. I didn't break my code. And he'd feel really good about himself.
Yes. But, he gives him the statement that there's a Mandalorian on Tatooine. So that's all I know. That's what he says, I've been to Tatooine. There's no Mandalorian over there. No, it's in this thing, this mining town, Mos Eisley or something.
Mos Eisley.
No, Mos Eisley is where he lands. Mos Pelgo is where he goes.
Darn it, Juan, I keep on accidentally turning off my phone.
There's a lot of Mosses, except this is one that had gotten wiped out, but also is a rebuilding little settler town. And he goes there. We get Amy Sedaris back as her character. I'm blanking on her name right now. Check the IMDb real quick. Amy Sedaris, yeah, Pelimato, who is the mechanic. She's awesome. And she basically tells him, I don't know of any other Mandalorians here. I don't know what you're talking about, but I do know where Mos Pelgo is, and basically shows him a map and says, there's nothing on this map. He's like, I know, that's where it used to be. That's where it's supposed to be. He takes the child with him because he knows if he ever leaves the child with other people, although he sometimes breaks this rule if he feels it's safe enough. But obviously,
he's forced to. He's not forced to right now, so he's coming.
Yeah, so he's coming with him, and because actually I think later he does leave. Maybe he doesn't because they have to go back. Yeah. So it's very complex. But anyway, he takes the child with him. Child hides, and we basically get the big scene with the Marshal. And he sees the Marshal in the doorway, thinks he's a Mandalorian, then he comes and takes off his helmet.
Yeah, and you probably already know this, but the armor he's wearing, it's Boba Fett's armor. Whoa!
Yes. That was the big fanboy moment. It's Boba Fett's armor, and he is mad that this guy has this armor because he takes off his helmet and says that means you're not a Mandalorian. Although that's going to become an issue in later episodes as well. But we won't get to that. No spoilers yet.
Spoiler alert!
That's why I said we'll get to that in next episodes, but we're not going to explain it because it's not a spoiler if we just say that's going to be an issue later. Anyway, so, yeah, the guy basically says, look, when the Empire fell, all these, this mining consortium just came in and shot up the place and killed everybody, and I ran, and I got saved by Jawas, which is one of these another moments, because there's, like, a couple moments in there where, like, the people like Jawas And you get this real understanding of the racist overtones of the Star Wars universe, the human supremacy of the Star Wars universe, where it's like, actually the Sand people have lived here for thousands of years. You're on their land,
Actually, we don't know if they're not human. They could be wearing a mask, and they could be just humans.
Well, they could be. Well, they're clearly humanoid. Maybe that should be enough. And the Jawas are always seen, and much the way the Romani are seen. They're traveling people. They're scavengers.
And very much like if you've ever read Dune, they're like the Fremen people of the desert there. They wear these still suits that keep them viable in the heat with the dust and everything. And same with the Javas. They live in the desert. They're nomadic people. They move from sitch to sitch. And they live in the desert. And they have a way to live in the desert. And it involves a very specific kind of suit. And they're viewed as not as advanced as the people running the planet of Arrakis. So it's kind of the same thing as the Fremen people in Dune.
Wait, I just wanted to give you just a fun fact about the Jawas in Mandalorian. In Season 1, apparently those are like a different race of Jawas than the ones on Tatooine. Like, so there's like off-world Jawas. Like,
yes.
Oh.
Yes, and the difference is some have red eyes and some have yellow, correct, Tristan?
Yeah, and they also have like lighter clothes.
Yes, so there are different groups. As it turns out, you can be in the same group, yet have different rituals and customs. I wonder if that'll come up later. But and I'm trying to remember why it was that oh, that's right, because he stole something from the people that were blowing up the place, and it turned out that he basically just ran off with a bunch of very valuable crystals. And again, this is where it comes into the Jawas. They're not bad people, because they could just say, "Hey, we saved you from the desert. Give us what you have." But it's like, no, we'll trade you. We're going to nurse you back to health, and we're going to trade you what you are owed. And this is a classic Western trope. The idea of the person, who may have negative views of the savages, but, gets captured by the savages and find out, oh my gosh, you're actually really kind and normal people. And you just want to deal with the world in the way that you deal with it. And in their culture, you don't take from people, you trade. They're like the Ferengi. Ferengi don't steal. Ferengi cheat. It's a different legal thing. We had a contract. We fulfilled our contract. If you signed a bad contract, that's not our fault. That's how the Ferengi look at it. And so they'll sell you a defective, R5 droid, which, wound up at Amy Sedaris' house eventually. But,
Also, that R5 droid, it was not defective. R2 was just a big jerk and actually actually attacked the R5 unit, so it would kind of blow up.
Let's face it, everyone associated with the Jedi are awful people. That's what we can say. And R2 is no different. R2 is he's like the Punisher of the droid set. He just goes around just smacking people around, taking what he wants as he needs to, which isn't really the Punisher, but, sort of the Punisher, too. Because Punisher has no problem stealing drug money to pay for whatever he has to do. Just always see him walk out with a big bag of cash,
Hey.
Killed all the drug dealers, took all the money.
Yeah.
Yes. Bullets aren't cheap. But, yeah, so the guy trades it for the Beskar armor. Or not the Beskar, we don't know if it's Beskar or Durasteel. Officially canon, it's Durasteel, but we actually kind of maybe get the suggestion that it's actually Beskar in this, or at least a Beskar Durasteel alloy. And maybe that's what makes Durasteel, is it's a Beskar alloy.
Isn't Boba Fett's armor made of Durasteel? And I think that's also what like other Mandalorians use, like in Clone Wars. There were like these Maul Mandalorians in Death Watch, and they were shooting each other, and they were both dying, and they were using they weren't using Beskar because Beskar was rare.
Yeah, Beskar is very rare, and so, but like titanium, you can mix it with other metals, and it gives you some advantages. So, like if you do titanium and aluminum and iron, you create stainless steel, which has certain advantages over simple titanium steel. but you give up some of the durability of titanium steel, and even titanium steel itself is its own. Making a steel alloy of titanium, I actually believe is stronger than titanium, or at least it's more workable than raw titanium. Yes.
I just want to say something. Most likely, throughout this video, I'm just going to be the guy that tells you about the lore and story. So just to give you guys.
Well, I appreciate that. Some random guy. And you're happy. We welcome you whenever you need to. All right, moving right along. Basically, they have their little stare down. Yiddle hides in the spittoon, which. My son did not know that was a spittoon. I had to explain to him what a spittoon was. He was like, ew! But anyway.
He was apparently hiding in a barrel of spit.
That is what a spittoon is. Yes, at least we hope that that's what they use a spittoon for. Because there's other things they could be using that spittoon for in that bar. Because, we still have not seen a toilet in the Mandalorian universe. But anyway,
or maybe it's just decoration. Maybe
maybe it was simply a potted plant. But yeah, but that's the idea. And then we also get that again when we see that in the transit to the place, Mando really, communicating with the Sand people, and he actually speaks Sand person.
No, you have to call them Tusken Raiders because that's, I think, a least offensive name to call them than Sand.
Well, actually, I think they're technically Tuskens.
Call them Tuskens.
Yeah, because the Raider is to imply that they are, attacking people, which is what the townspeople see them as. The people who just come and steal their stuff, which is normal in that situation. It's two people want the same land. People who got basically what this is something that happens throughout history is settling people will come into a place that nomadic people have been visiting for years, but all of a sudden they get there and there's like a town there and they're like, oh well, okay, we just want to go to that water hole that we've gone to for 5 generations, and no, that's our water now. It's like, you can't own water. It's like, okay, you have to unmute, random guy.
Time for some random guys' fun facts. Did you know that Tusken Raiders' guns actually are not blasters, but they actually shoot projectiles?
I did not know that, and that actually makes sense. And of course, as we learned that the Mandalorians, when they fought the Jedi, actually started using projectile weapons because they were things that the Jedi could not easily deflect. Yeah, they could deflect a blaster bolt, but like if you did a shotgun, they were kind of like they would get peppered by it. So it's like it was an interesting.
I think it might also be because since bullets are smaller than blaster bullets, it's kind of hard to pinpoint where to block it. So So if you have like a minigun, just go guns blazing if you want to kill Jedi.
Yes, and of course, and the thing is you can say, well, couldn't they just use the Force to block it? Actually, the problem with things like that is you can only you have to move the object, and there's no difference in using the Force to move a small object or a large object. But if you have 1,000 large objects coming at you at once, it's really hard to grab them all and control them. So, this is all the things. This is what we get in this thing where we talk about the war between the Jedi and the Mandalorians. But that's not this episode yet. Right now...
Stop spoiling.
It's not spoiling to say it's not in this episode, some random guy.
Yeah, that's what they all say. Anyway, let's actually continue with the story.
Yes, so they do go because they do know they're going to. Because basically, we get the attack of the crate dragon, which is this large beast. Here's what I'm going to tell you. This is the weird thing for a desert world. Tatooine has a lot of apex predators.
And speaking of that apex predator, another fun fact is that in the original, when they first made the Star Wars before they remade it and added CGI, the scream that Ben's no not
that Obi-Wan Kenobi makes
Kenobi is the Crate Dragon War, and then they decide to reuse that yell for the Crate Dragon.
Yes, so that's when Obi-Wan Kenobi scares away the Sand People in that one scene. He's making a Crate Dragon roar. But so anyway, but in this moment, they basically agree that if Mando helps the Marshal get rid of the Crate Dragon, he will give him the armor, which leads to them realizing they're going to have to work with the Sand People, or the Tuskens, or the Tusken Raiders, you know. They probably have their own name for their own people. Like, maybe Jawas don't call themselves Jawas, you know. It's like, actually, we're these Yuya, you know, but, you know, that's what people call us, so.
And also,
or supposedly now,
Oh, yes.
they speak sign language.
Well, exactly. That's the thing, is that actually the noises they make are, it's sort of like the opposite of what, you know, people on the East Coast do, where we use our hands to emphasize what they say. They did, and they go,
I think they.
It's just giving some emotional context to the syntax of their hands.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's cool, and it's neat, and again goes into this thing where we're giving levels to these cultures that we don't usually get. And that is, and again, like I said, this is a trope of Westerns, but it also something that was sorely lacking in the Star Wars universe. Moving right along. So they agreed to this, you know, and basically what they come down to is they're all going to get together. They're all going to kill the Crate Dragon. When they kill the Crate Dragon, you know, the Tuskens will have a truce with the town. They will not start any fights going forward, which is one of those classic things where it's like, well, we won't shoot first if you don't shoot first. And then as soon as one of the other guys just decides he has to shoot first because he's just can't stand Sand People being in the neighborhood, you know, that's when it all goes to heck. But
that's racist.
Yes, it is, as is Star Wars.
Actually, speaking of when everyone was upset about them teaming up with the Tusken Raiders, I think one of them actually said, "We don't need their kind."
Yes, they did, because that's what they say. But they do agree that they're going to do it, and they're going to work together, and they...
Yeah, let's point something out, that's, you know, everybody learns and everybody has a starting point. You can't hold that against them. You got to expect them to get better, and you got to expect them to learn, and you can't banish them into a realm of, you know, oh, they're bad people and they can't be redeemed or anything like that. That helps no one.
Well, exactly.
And the whole purpose of this episode is that no matter where somebody starts from, they have the room to grow into better people, and you've got to give them that room if you ever want them to get there.
Well, exactly. And to be fair, and as I've said, this is a classic conundrum between settling people and nomadic people. You know, that that limited resources, and that's usually what it is, that there's a place that limited resources exist, and settling people want to settle where there are limited resources. Nomadic people move from resource to resource so they don't exhaust the resource.
And now you're coming and throwing off their whole system by taking one patch of land and exhausting the hell out of it. Now they can't flow in their system of managing their resources any longer. You're depleting one area.
But along those same lines, then the settler says, no, we can manage this resource. And arguably they can. It happens. When people settle, they often are saying, okay, this is the place that has water. We know how to use the water. We can maintain it. But when someone else is coming in, that's when that becomes problematic for the settler. So everyone has a perspective, you know, and, you know, no one is ever fully evil. No one is ever fully wrong in these situations, you know, unless they actually have more than they need. And what we see here is we see two groups of subsistence living people who are fighting rather than working together. And what the point of this episode is that when we are at that subsistence level, when there is no difference between what you're trying to do and what we're trying to do, we can actually work together and maybe accomplish something great. And they do that when they get and they all work together to kill this great crate dragon that has been damaging them. And of course, it's the Sand People that have all the knowledge. They say, look, we know we've been studying crate dragons, you know, life cycle for centuries. We know when they eat. We know how to keep it asleep. We know what to do to get it to a certain point. And we know that when you do want to kill it, the only way you can is to attack it from underneath. And they set it up where they get the bombs set up. And it's really cool how it does play out, because it does come into this. Yes?
They didn't really know. When they try and lure out the crate dragon decides, I'm tired of space cow, let me eat this Tusken Raider. And so they didn't expect that to happen. They thought it would eat the cow.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, there's certain things that happen in that, but, I think it ate the cow and the Tusken Raider.
No, he left
the cow alone.
Oh, he did? Okay, yeah, it's been a little while since, I've been a couple days since I did my rewatch. But anyway, so in this moment, though, they do, and here's the thing, I think that it's possible that it could have crawled back into its hole and would have died after they do the initial blow up. Although we do see that the crate dragon, spews acid, which again, I do wonder if maybe the Sand People's clothing gives them some protection of it. You hear them screaming, but we don't necessarily know that they died,
I think they did die, because they seem to be pretty disintegrated. I think when they actually got the acid thrown on them, they actually kind of disappeared.
I mean, that's possible, too. I'm not quite sure. Like I said, I didn't see that. Maybe you were watching closer than I was. Some random guy. Okay. But anyway, so, and then it comes down to this, and it gets to this really beautiful thing where, Mando realizes, okay, I know how we can get him, because he sees that, that cow has all the bombs strapped to them. And if I can get it to eat that, then we can detonate the bombs from inside. And that is essentially what he does, because he wagers that the Beskar is going to keep him safe. And once he's inside, he can blow it up. It is
a gamble, though, and he does not hesitate, not for a moment. Duty calls, and the code must be obeyed.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love that.
Wait, but
yeah.
Even though it shouldn't have burned the Beskar, shouldn't the rest of him be burned? The parts that weren't in Beskar.
Well, but that comes to that. Maybe what else is there? Because as we say, we know, and this is one of the things that was discussed. We know that it is living in an empty. What was the creature called?
A Sarlacc pit.
A Sarlacc pit. It was an abandoned Sarlacc pit, and they said there's no such thing as abandoned Sarlacc pit
unless you eat it.
Unless you eat it. So basically,
yummy. It might tell you.
Yeah. So basically, the crate dragons eat the Sarlaccs. So Sarlaccs eat all the smaller creatures on Tatooine, and then the crate dragons eat the Sarlaccs. But that is also why, arguably, Boba Fett was possibly able to survive the digestive processes of the Sarlacc. Because remember, the digestive processes of the Sarlacc are that it digests you over 100 years, which means that it's a very slow-acting dissolving agent, but it can't get to you if you're covered in your Durosteel or Beskar armor. And he's wagering that whatever the crate dragon is spewing, it's not enough to damage his Beskar armor. So I believe he tells the Marshal, whatever happens, take care of the kid. And
then he does a Han Solo moment and whacks him into his backpack, and then he flies away.
Yes. Same spot. It's a flaw in that design. Although it has been pointed out that if you actually look closer, you'll see that backpack actually has damage in that spot. And that's essentially what happened, is that backpack was damaged originally, and that damage is what causes that one to go off like that. So anyway, he defeats it. They blow up the crate dragon. We see that the Jawas, why the Tuskens wanted because they just want the ichor from the dragon, That's all they want. That they get to keep the ichor, and then realize that there's a gigantic pearl inside, and it's one of these things where this is actually apparently a highly valued commodity.
Shouldn't there be multiple pearls with how much it's been living in the sand?
I don't know. It could be. Maybe there's more than one pearl in there, but we see them have one. And so one imagines that they then trade that, and that's sort of, and it goes into that whole nomadic life. They get that thing that they know has value, and then they can trade that, and that's what sustains them as they travel in their world.
You think they ate all that crate dragon meat? I mean, that had to have fed the town for like a year, right?
Yeah, speaking of, how good do you think crate dragon tastes?
I bet it's pretty delicious.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is. And then we actually get, is that this episode where he goes back to, or is that next episode? No, this episode. Tristan?
I think that was next episode.
That's right. They kill the crate dragon, and they go their separate ways, and Mando heads off into the sunset with the Beskar arm, with the Dursteel armor.
But
and then
something weird happens. We see. We see a man watching him that looks like someone we know. It looks like Jango Fett, and since Jango Fett is dead, it only means one thing. It's Boba Fett! Ah!
Yeah.
So here's what I thought. I don't think that the Marshal got the armor the way he says he got the armor. If this other Mandalorian is hiding out and he does not want to be found, wouldn't it be a great move on his part to give the Marshal his armor and say, hey, there's this other dude over here snooping around. I don't want him to know I'm here. So pretend like you got this armor. It'll throw him off the scent and he will leave.
Well, the only problem with that is I think that the armor is necessary for the Marshal to take over. So he obviously has had the armor for a while. So I think his story is true. How the Jawas got the armor, that's where it gets complex.
They could have robbed him.
Well, no, because we don't.
I doubt that.
Jawas don't rob.
That is true.
They will steal a droid, but droids aren't people. So,
but they have feelings. Droid lives matter.
No,
yes,
but aren't droids property?
Exactly, droids are property.
So they can't.
Well, no, they're not necessarily. No, droids actually aren't necessarily property. Only if they have a master that they can denote. If you have a droid that's walking free, and they don't have someone that they can be given to, they suddenly become salvage. It's like if you found an old car by the side of the road. In their culture, that's salvage.
So that means you can just take it.
You can just take it, yeah. Now, it's possible that the droid could object, and the droid, if you're a protocol droid like C-3PO, you could say, no, I belong to, who did he belong to? It wasn't Wedge Antilles. I forget who he belonged to.
He belonged to Luke Skywalker.
No, before then. Yeah.
He belonged to...
No, because he mentions his master before.
His master... Oh, wait. His master was Anakin. He built... Oh, yeah.
Well, yes, but that was before, and he actually had his memory wiped of that. Anyway, so it's possible a droid could actually dispute their ownership, which is probably a whole range... There's probably a whole range of droid law in the books in the Star Wars universe that no one has ever explored. But I guarantee you there was lines of ownership that would say what became a salvageable droid. Because clearly droids can be salvaged. Droids can be reprogrammed, and that is seen as a different kind of thing. So I think but in this situation, my assumption is that either when he got out of the Sarlacc pit, if that is Boba Fett, which we assume it is, but though, as someone else has pointed out, it could be actually just another clone trooper that doesn't have the rapid aging flaw.
Or maybe it could be just an old clone trooper that decided to shave.
Well, yeah.
Like Captain Rex. It could be Captain Rex, Wolf, or who knows, it could be Echo.
Yeah, but Echo... Yeah, I mean, it could be Echo, actually. And Echo, because of his cybernetic components, might not have aged as rapidly. So it's a possibility. But either way, this guy could be Boba Fett. And given that we have Boba Fett's armor, it's implied that he may be. And the idea could be that when he got out, he shed his armor. Or he traded his armor to the Jawas for something else. But it was also suggested, because you see that he actually has a sand person rifle, that he was actually one of the people living with the Sand People at that time. One of the people living with the Tuskens. So there's a lot of possibilities at play here. So That's the question that we're left with. Okay, so let us wrap up this episode, I guess. Some random guy. You don't have any social media, really. So.
Yes, I do. Maybe.
You can find him at some random place.
Yes. Do you want to give it? Do you want to give your YouTube address for people to look at your your playthroughs?
Well, I haven't been posting on it a while.
Okay.
But you can still subscribe to Texan Gamer 13, but I haven't really posted, so you don't have to. Okay.
And Mozz, if someone would like to get in touch with you.
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And I almost forgot, all of you guys, we're recording this just after Thanksgiving tonight. I want you all, if you listen to this before Christmas, go down into our show notes, find the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks gift guide to find gifts that we recommend for all your friends and family. And while you're doing that, you may find Tweaked Audio headsets on there, you may not. But if not, go to tweakedaudio.com anyway and get your family and friends wonderful Tweaked Audio headsets where you can use the coupon code Southgate to get a discount on your purchase. Likewise, you can use that same exact coupon code at Hunt a Killer. Get you or your loved ones the game Hunt a Killer. It's like a escape room delivered to your house every week, so that's kind of cool, or every month, or whatever the period is. But anyway, you got to help Michelle Gray solve this cold case. It's a lot of fun. You really got to try it. Use the coupon code Southgate at checkout. Likewise, any of the things you see on our gift list, if you go down to our show notes, you can click to Amazon. You can probably find those things at Amazon to buy. Cost you nothing, helps out the show, and also while you're there, check out Pod Life, the book written by the Southgate Media Group team about why we podcast. It's a bunch of short stories, so they're quick, easy reads. You can get it in paper or digital. And we'd love it if you read it. And then, if any of you would like to write to me about what you found, you can do so in the old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Paz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, the new DuckTales series, Come Explore the Disney XD Disney Afternooniverse reboot. It is amazing. I think you'll love it. Please do so at Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIE. ESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you,
quality.
Okay. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for boarding our ship once again and sailing off these crazy internet seas. Join us next week for another episode of Full Stream Ahead. Arg!
See you next week.